What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we'll be going over encapsulation in Python. Encapsulation is the idea that we can bundle our data within a unit. A class is a perfect example of bundling our data. We have our attributes, we have our methods, they're all contained within this class. So the idea behind this is that we want to be able to protect our data. We want to be able to handle our data so that its state is always valid. Let's take a look at this. So we're in our school class. We have this teacher class, which is a subclass of the school class. And I've modified it just slightly so that the getRaise method is less junky, I should say. But say we have this salary and we want to be able to control the state of the salary. Well, we don't want a salary to be negative. So we want to be able to control the state, and we'll talk about what that means later. But for now, the idea is behind that we want to be able to control the validity of our attributes and methods. So let's take a look at the three states of data encapsulation. The first one is public. So it should be noted that in Python, everything is by default public. These first name and last name instance variables are public. Anybody, any user can access these variables. And by user, we just mean anybody that's using the class. So that may be through an API, it just may be through a project folder, whatever. Anybody that's using this class, they have full access to these first names and last name variables, and they can set them to whatever they want to be, okay? Now, like I said, everything is by default public. So the second one is protected. And protected means that it should be accessed only within the class and within the subclasses. Now, the thing about protected is that it is not exactly a rule within Python saying that only the classes and subclasses can access this variable or method. It is more of a convention, meaning that users can access, so anybody can access these variables even when it's protected. But if you see this one underscore, which is how you define a protected variable, that means that you shouldn't access it. So users should not access it outside of the classes or subclasses. So like I just mentioned, you define a protected variable with one underscore before the variable name. So one underscore is protected. Public is just you define it as you normally would. So if I wanted to make first name and last name protected, I would just put one underscore before first name and last name. Now, like I said, you can still access this with outside of the class. So let's do that right now. Let's print student1 dot underscore first name. So the subclasses still have access to these variables, which is why I can still print the first name within the student class, even though it's defined within the school class. So I'm printing this protected variable. I can print it just fine, but it is a convention that you should not access this. You should not do this what I'm doing right now if I see that it's protected. Now the final one is private. Now private means that the variable can only be accessed within the class. So only the school class, for example, would have access to this variable. The scope is the class, not its subclasses, not users. So it's interesting that with private variables, you cannot, it is a rule. So you cannot access it outside of the class. So let's actually try this. So to define a private variable, you would do two underscores or double underscores. So before the variable, you'll put two underscores. And let's do that for all of these. So anywhere I see self.salary, I'm going to make it self._salary by doing Control D. So this means that the variable is private. Well, what does that actually mean? Well, like I said, with the protected variables, you can access this with the outside of the class. Like I can do this. I cannot do this with private variables. So let me print teacher1's salary. And you'll see that we're getting an attribute error because there's no attribute. We don't have access to this. We only have access to this within the teacher class, which means that, like I said, I modified this class so that it would better suit this example. But all these methods within the teacher class have access to the salary instance variable. So I can actually apply this getRaise method, and within the getRaise method, it prints the salary. So let's give the teacher a raise. So we know by instantiating the object, the teacher object, that Bill Nye here has a salary of $111,000. Let's teacher1.getRaise. So it increases the salary and it prints out the salary. And I forgot we can't print the teacher salary directly like this. So let's get rid of that. And you'll see that the salary increases. So the getRaise method works just fine, even though we're using the self.__salary instance variable, we're using it within the class. Even though we're printing out, we're using the variable within the class. So that's what you have to understand, is that we only have access to this within the class. If I created a private variable within this school class, the student class and the teacher class would not have access to it. It only has access within the class, not to its subclasses and not outside of the class. There is a way that you can access private variables outside of the class. I'm not going to show that to you because you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. So it's called data mangling. You can look it up if you're interested, but I'm not going to show that to you because you should not try and access private variables outside of the class. Okay. Now you notice here that I print the salary within the getRaise method. Normally we don't do that. We normally do something called, we normally create methods called getters and setters, which would retrieve the salary and then print the salary, or return the salary. But that will be in my next video. We're talking about getters and setters. That would do it for this video though. So if you enjoy something, if you learn something, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one. Take it easy.